Hello, my name is TreasuredLight, or T-Light, one of the members of Ballin' Inc., also known as Bink. As a professional team player, I've made it my responsibility to pass some knowledge down to anyone willing to learn how to play Armored Core 6's team's game mode. Before we get started, I want to explain that all this info I'm going to disclose is what I've learned during my journey in the Armored Core Scrims community. Teams is a fairly solved game mode, but there is still much to discover. So as time passes, some of the info in this video may no longer be correct. Also, there are many other creators trying to help new players learn the professional scene, so we can have a much larger and more diverse community of teams players. I've linked the Discord to both the Bink official server and the Armored Core Scrims server, as well as Melspeth's channel, who has been putting out plenty of beginner-friendly information. All these links are going to be in the description below. With all that out of the way, let's begin. Firstly, if your expansion slot is anything but terminal armor, you aren't going to have fun. Now in a casual, open lobby where no one is doing scrims, you may be able to get away with it. But if you want to play competitively in a professional team's environment, you need to run terminal armor. This is because the high burst damage weapons such as earshots dominate the team scene. I've seen and contributed to many instances of zeroing an AC both before the expansion could possibly be used and even if it was successfully used. It is also pretty funny to watch people just die instantly after being focused. The moment it is discovered that you don't have terminal armor, the enemy team will farm you off every respawn, over and over again. This is because, well, without terminal armor, you have no ability to trade back with an opponent after being focused down to 0 AP. Terminal armor gives you enough time to both trade and punish ACs that are overcommitted to finishing you. So that just means that terminal armor is the most necessary step towards playing better in teams. Okay, with the most important step out of the way, it's time to explain something that players may understand but not necessarily utilize properly, and that is information. There is an absolute overburdening amount of information you should keep track of in a team's game. From tracking cooldowns, manual aim range, EN usage, etc. But for beginners, I recommend only keeping track of the following things. AP. Teams' lobbies show everyone's AP at all times. The opponent with the least amount of remaining AP should often be the focus of the team. Naturally, the person with the least amount of AP is the easiest to probably zero. It's just what you should do. Stagger. Much like AP, this information is public. Watch for when an enemy's stagger bar spikes. Oftentimes, when an opponent's stagger bar is high, that is usually the sign that you should engage that target. Usually makes it easier to really just immediately pop their stagger bar and get a fairly easy zeroing on that target. Lock-on blips. Have you ever noticed the little gray vertical line beside your emblem in the team's UI? This is a lock-on blip, which indicates how many opponents' FCSs are currently locked on your AC. This information is public for everyone as well, which is good for identifying which of your teammates are currently in trouble and need support. It is also good for seeing what targets your teammates are currently focused on, so you can better support the attack. The more blips on an enemy, the better for your team. The more blips on one of your teammates, the more you'll probably need to peel for that teammate. So just keep that in mind. It's a very useful tool that I think a lot of professional teams, players, think is the most underutilized of the UI. Alright, respawns. It is important to take every advantage possible during a team's fight. The moment an enemy AC is destroyed, you need to assess the situation with the following question. Do I have more teammates than my enemy? If the answer is yes, you need to take advantage of your strength in numbers and engage with the enemy. Even if you have a teammate on 1 AP, you need to take advantage of the enemy's inability to deal with all of your team at once. In some circumstances, this might not be the right call, usually due to time and score, but we'll get to that later. The last advice I have for respawns is to not fully team wipe your opponents. This will give the enemy team an easier time respawning together. If you just keep one opponent alive on 1 AP until the enemy teammates respawn, you'll have yourself an easy 3v2, pretty much. Also, if you find yourself getting respawn cycled like this, you need to wait to engage until your entire team is able, whether by just being around the map to try to avoid getting seen, using cover to hide, anything. You need to get together with your team. Right, score. While it's not the most important thing to watch, it is good to remind yourself of who is the VIP, which is the person with the exclamation mark next to their emblem, and which team is currently in the lead. It is also good for identifying when it's time to stop fighting, but we'll cover that when we get to time. Score is not entirely understood at the moment. We know that every kill gives roughly 110 points. 100 points for the kill, 10 extra for to the player that landed the killing blow. Managing to fall off the map before an enemy lands a killing blow will deny the 10 extra points. The remaining 100 points are divided to each AC that contributed to the kill, by percentage of damage dealt. The VIP gains a larger boost of points for contributing to a kill, but also gives extra points to the enemy team when they are killed. As such, it's often best to target the VIP when possible. If you don't, they'll just get more points over time, and you're actually just losing points by not looking at the VIP. So definitely prioritize them when you're looking at the UI. Time. Tournament standard for time is 5 minutes for teams. The most important factor of time comes closer to the end of the timer, roughly 20 seconds before the game ends. If your team is leading in points, and especially if it's only leading by roughly 100 points, your team needs to stop engaging and focus on living. Too many games have been both lost and won at the last second to teams not disengaging at the proper times. If you are down points, you need to focus on confirming ACs on 1 AP immediately. If that isn't enough, the lowest AP target or VIP need to be your next priorities. I mean, that's just how it works. If you just throw a 1 AP teammate into an engagement when you're 20 seconds in and only 100 points away from winning the game. I mean, you're probably just not going to win that game because of it. Right, builds. I'm not going to sit here and explain every viable build, but you should be able to fairly understand by your own performance if your build is working or not. The main threats are Zims, Etsus, earshots, LCDs, Fasons, and missiles. These are the most common weapons I see pretty much ever. All I know for certain is to not play a lightweight frame in teams unless you are literally the best lightweight player. Your lack of defense and AP makes you the easiest target for enemies to focus in zero. So if you find your team often losing by a small margin of points, try upping your weight for better AP and defense. It does make a difference. Many of the team's community often sit in open lobbies, such as my own members of Bink. I recommend you observe our gameplay. Maybe not our builds all the time, because we do usually run fairly troll builds that would never work in scrims, in casuals, just because we know we can get away with them. But it might help just watching how we position, how we go through maps, and maybe just see who we prioritize. You might be able to see how we're communicating just by watching our gameplay. Priority targets, appeal, and, maybe you'll see some goofy things along the way, but other than that, I hope this video has encouraged you to at least try and go into the team's community and really figure out if it's for you. The goal of this is really to bring more awareness to everything and have just a little video snippet for players to easily pick up and understand just how to play teams. Even if it's in open lobbies, having more people running terminal armor, might make it more fun for even us and maybe even for you. Well, other than that though, definitely check out the links in the description. Official Bink Discord is down there, as well as the Armor Core scrims. Also, please do check out Mousebeth. She makes great content all the time, and honestly, she's probably one of the best content creators that I know within the AC6 community, constantly farming out content to really help bring awareness to the team's community. She's been putting a lot of work into it. But anyway, hopefully I'll see you around. Subscribe if you want to see tourneys. Yep. See you later. Bye-bye.